Hey friends, Doctor Motley here with the Ancient Health Podcast, and we're going to talk about an important subject, fear. Fear is something that often besets many of us in our daily life, chronic fear. Do you have chronic fear, chronic anxiety, or even unexplained fear? You don't know why you are afraid. Well, in this podcast, I wanted to talk about fear as it relates to the kidneys. Chronic UTI, kidney infections, chronic bladder issues. The kidney and the bladder are paired meridians in Chinese medicine, and they're associated with the emotions of fear, dread, the fear of moving forward or being afraid you are stuck and not moving ahead in life. These are emotions that are trapped within the kidneys and bladder, and they can create symptomatology such as tight hips, tight hip flexors, chronic hip pain, chronic knee pain, even the inability to ground, to stay settled, where you feel like you're basically movable, you're not steady. These are all the symptoms that can be related to the kidneys, but it's related specifically to fear. So let's discuss the mechanisms of fear as it relates to the kidneys in Chinese medicine, and also talk about what are some of the things that you can do to actually help you clean out the kidneys, which would help you with analyzing fear and helping resolve some of the fear things that are going in your body. What are the programs that are running in your brain, in your body, that's creating this perpetual fear mechanism? All right. First of all, guys, when we talk about the kidneys in Chinese medicine and the bladder, we're talking about the organs and the placement of the organs. So with this, I want to show you that in the organ system, okay? When we're talking about the kidneys literally sit basically on the flanks. Where the last rib ends, there's a few floating ribs. There are ribs that basically are not attached. They don't circle back around from the origins near the spine and circle back around and insert on another part of the rib. They're free floating. They have an open-ended area right here at the very bottom. What that does is helps protect your kidneys, those last ribs. So down near T12L1 area, you're going to have an area in your low back that actually helps protect the kidneys. Now the kidneys can be felt as well from the front side. If you take 1 body inch up, if you guys are driving and you're listening to this, if you take 1 body inch up, which is basically the distance between the further distal knuckle and the proximal knuckle on your index. So that's called a body inch. So a body inch up from your navel and out on both sides, like a T from your navel, would give you an indication where your adrenal glands sit and your kidneys. And now why this is important is we're talking about the kidneys and fears because we're talking about fight or flight, freeze, or fawning, right? Now, research is showing that when you go into a fight or flight situation, your body will definitely, rise in cortisol, will actually affect your adrenaline output, and it really affects the kidneys because of its effect on the adrenal glands. Now, the areas where your kidneys sit, remember on the low back, your adrenal glands sit on top of the kidneys. So if you're listening to me, remember, some individuals have really large kidney glands. Some have really large adrenal glands. Now, the reason being that they're associated is because of their proximity. In Chinese medicine, they say that the kidneys help you with the original qi. They help you with grounding qi. When you take your shoes off in the morning, when you go outside, when you sit and you put your feet into the dirt or in the ground or in the ocean, you're exchanging electrons with the earth. And that exchange is actually shoving the acupuncture points of the kidney 1, which is right here at the ball of the foot, and shoving those ions up and through that area of the kidneys and going all the way up the legs, on the inside of the leg, going up into the kidney, eventually stopping here at kidney 27 at the sternum, but all the while giving energy of ions up through the inside of the leg, up through the kidneys, and even through the ovaries and the reproductive areas of the male and female. What that means is that you have this grounding effect where you're getting all these ions from the earth. Chinese medicine says that the kidneys are responsible for doing what? Helping you balance your fluid, the water in your system, the minerals in your system. That's what the kidneys do. They help you with keeping water in proper balance, keeping the fluid balance, and also keeping mineral balance. It's shown in Western medicine and Eastern. Now, if the fluid balances are doing well in the minerals, what does that show? That you can conduct electricity. Now, that's not rocket scientists. You have water with minerals. What does minerals and electrolytes do to you? Electrolytes, they help you conduct electricity. And that's what the kidneys are there for. They help you pull certain minerals out, exchange them with your blood, exchange them with your fluid to keep you energetically and electrically balanced. That's why it's so important to have potassium and sodium and chloride ions. They're ionic. They exchange electrical charge when these little bonds are broken or formed. So the kidneys are huge with your fluid and mineral balance. Now, that is the kidney meridian. You have this jing qi, this original energy that comes from your parents. It goes through your navel and it stores up into the kidneys. And the kidneys are holding this energy because it's such electrically conductive. And then it pushes the electricity through what we call the triple warmer meridian. Now, the triple warmer meridian represents the 3 gates. You want to take that energy and put it into what? 3 gates. The heart and the thyroid up here, this whole area. That's one of the gates. The next is going to be down here in the middle. It's going to be your digestion, your spleen, your stomach, your small intestine. That's a big energy producer from what you eat. And then third could be down here in the lower area near the reproductive, because there's such huge mitochondrial ATP energy production in the ovaries and in the testes. So you have 3 gates. So your body's going to take energy and try to push it into the 3 things that your body wants to do. Pump blood through the heart, create energy through your thyroid, get your digestion rolling so that you can actually have more food and more nutrients to have energy, and then reproductive. You want to reproduce. That's how lifespans are within the human race. So you have the 3 gates. On top of the kidneys, remember, is the adrenal glands. What happens if you're raised in an environment, raised in a culture, raised in a home situation where there's chronic fear? Where you're afraid of a bully at school, where you're afraid of not moving forward in your job, where you're afraid of, like, my friends are going to leave me behind because they're advancing so much further than I am, and I'm stuck back here trying to ride this bike when there's 2 guys in front of me and they're just pedaling faster than I can. When you want to move forward in life and you can't move forward, it makes you feel stuck, right? So your body will go into fight or flight, hyper mode. And I want to move forward quicker. So that puts you into, I say, a fight or flight, but it helps you produce more adrenaline, more cortisol, more thyroid hormone. It affects your blood sugar because you want to produce more. Now, think about 2 ways with me. When you have the adrenal gland sitting right here on top of the kidneys, and you keep stressing your adrenal glands to produce more energy, to create more output, you're telling your adrenal glands that you want your thyroid gland to keep producing thyroid hormone to actually produce more energy in all the cells of your body. This way, the energy that's produced can be helped along by the adrenaline and cortisol, like a turbo. Spark plug of the thyroid, turbo of the adrenals, the cortisol and the adrenaline. So you're asking your body, okay, I want this to occur because I want this perpetual program to keep occurring. The program initiated your thyroid's response to create energy, and then the adrenaline is kicking in to keep sustaining that program. So you're going to try to sustain the program. You're going to try to keep it moving because you're either afraid of the problem, you want to solve it, or you want to get ahead, or you just don't know what to do, and your brain is consistently cycling on that memory or that thought. So your brain is looking at this area going, I can't get away from it. The adrenaline is pumping, the cortisol is pumping, and all the while when you tell the adrenal cortex and the medulla, the little components of the adrenal glands, to keep pumping, it will wear the adrenal glands out. Your body, they call them catecholamines. You have androgen. They basically are high amounts of steroid hormone effect on the body when you're talking about the adrenal glands. They act like steroids on the body. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get pumped up and get muscular, but they help with the anti-inflammatory. They help with actual creating more of a push in fight or flight to actually escape a problem or fight it. That's the point of the adrenal glands. As it starts to get tired and fatigued, it will drain your kidneys. Your kidneys are holding this energy to distribute it through the adrenal glands and through the other gates. But if the adrenal glands start to get deteriorated and you don't have enough minerals in your body, or you leach the minerals from the kidneys or from the body, you don't have enough B vitamins primarily, usually in most people in our culture, or you don't have enough multi-minerals, the adrenal glands will start to suffer and they deteriorate because the tissue of the adrenal glands are built upon the vitamins and the minerals. So then you have this adrenal gland deteriorating, or I'd say injuring the kidneys. So you can have low adrenal output eventually if you keep having excess fight or flight. The trigger on that program keeps running, and all of a sudden you may not have enough nutrients to supply the adrenals with enough strength. Then the kidneys suffer because the adrenal glands are sitting right on top of the kidneys. They are the fire burners. That's what the adrenal glands are. They're a fire element. What are the kidneys? A water element. They help balance fluid. If you have too much fire on top, you will actually deteriorate or you'll injure the kidneys below. So you dehydrate the kidneys. That's why hydration is so important. And minerals and vitamins to help with adrenal fight, flight, or freeze. So we have the effect of the adrenal glands on the kidneys. Now, what's the program? In German New Medicine, they would say that the kidneys have to do with what we call being a fish out of water, a refugee syndrome. If there's fears in your life where you feel like you're not going to get ahead in life, that you're going to be left behind, that you're going to be abandoned, or you're stuck without anybody to help you, you may feel like they say a refugee or a fish out of water. Your body naturally, they say, will actually increase your kidney tissue to actually increase mineral absorption, increase hydration, and actually get your body to systematically use water and minerals in such an efficient way that the tissue will grow so that you get every spare ounce of goodness out of your water and minerals. It is your body's way of trying to perpetuate life, to stay hydrated. You need more water to run your daily activities. So your kidneys are operating in that refugee or in that fear mechanism of, I'm not getting ahead. I'm afraid. I was raised in a home situation that was very fearful. I'm stuck. I can't move forward. I'm always going to be like this. That will tell the kidneys, like, you better reserve water and contain water and hold water. So the kidneys grow, they swell, you start to get kidney infections. This area starts to swell, and your body will actually try to recruit, they say at times, infections to actually help balance the swelling of the kidneys to actually break down some of the tissue. Could this lead to more infections getting into the kidneys, such as strep, staph, bacteria, mold, yeast, viruses, parasites? That's what German New Medicine would indicate. I am still researching this. I think it's such a fascinating look at it, but can the body work symbiotically with infections to create this effect on the organs to help it keep it in balance so it doesn't overgrow? That's another discussion. But it all has to do with fear. The fear that I can't move forward, the fear that I can't move ahead in life. And if that occurs and this is happening, that fear section in my body would allow my programming to perpetually think about that one thing. Let's say I want to get ahead in work and I just want to keep moving forward, keep burning out my adrenaline, keep injuring the kidneys. That's a fear. The chronic fear in your life will diminish the cooling effect of the kidneys, allowing the adrenal effect of the fire element, the heat, to rise in your body, where more inflammation will grow because there is no balance between the water and the fire element. The kidneys need to be strengthened and replenished in the day to help offset the fire heat element. So in Chinese medicine, they say between 3 to 5 and 5 to 7, those are my kidney times and my bladder time. The kidney and the bladder are paired meridians. They work with each other. They help you with balancing fear. But if you had chronic fear that overwhelmed the kidneys have all this energy stored up. The adrenals are firing off. Your kidneys are trying to do what? Get more water in, get more minerals, and trying to sustain and put the adrenal glands up ahead of itself. And all of a sudden it gets dehydrated and it can't cool the body down. It can't keep it out of inflammation. Then other infections come in and get involved, such as yeast, mold, bacteria, viruses, and you start to see it's a perpetual multi-infection, all from fear. So the program that's initiated in your head, I want you to look back in your day and go, was there a time in my life that I had high amounts of fear? Did I ever have a time where I was afraid I couldn't move forward, where I felt stuck, where I felt like I was suffocating? Take that moment in time and see if many of your issues started there. Did you ever have chronic kidney infections when you were young? Did you ever have chronic UTIs, chronic bladder infections? Remember, the kidneys have tubes that drain into the bladder called the ureters or ureters, and then the bladder goes into and gets expelled with urine through the urethra. Did you ever have infections in these areas? Have you always had kidney flank pain back here? Have you ever had hip flexor pain and tightness where you always had to get your iliopsoas released? Have you ever had chronic knee pain on the inside or chronic feet pain on the balls of the feet? Those are big indications of kidney and bladder issues. Also, do you ever get chronic pain between the eyes right here? The canthus, that's a bladder 1 meridian. Do you have loosening of hair on the scalp? Yes, the bladder and the kidney have much to do with how well you keep the hair on your head. Blood vessels need to be engorged with blood in the scalp and in the bone areas and through the spine, and those are helped with erythropoietin, a hormone that's controlled by the kidneys. Could fear affect your blood flow to your scalp? Yes. Do you have loosening of hair at the top of the head? It could be an indication. Do you have dark circles underneath your eyes? Swelling right underneath your eyes? That's a kidney issue. Do you have acne or breakouts? Do you have along your spine? Do you have calf pain, chronic calf pain, bladder? Do you have issues along your spine where you've had osteoporosis or damaged vertebra without explanation? That is a bladder issue. So what I want you guys to realize in this is that when you see the kidney and the bladder showing up, was there a fearful situation or trauma that you could remember that you recall that all your issues started to kick up right after that? If it was, please look into using acupressure, acupuncture, even emotional therapies, counseling therapy, neuro-emotional technique, neurofeedback, EFT tapping. These are all examples of things to use to get the kidney and the bladder to flow. When they are not flowing properly, the infections can rise from the emotional programming. These infections can do what? They can cause weakening in the kidneys, which does not allow the cooling effect of the kidneys to offset the fire element of the adrenals, which means it can allow those adrenal glands in the thyroid to keep firing and firing and firing and not slowing down the mental, psychological programming that's causing the problem. So you have to strengthen the kidneys. The kidney infections could be a result of the emotions. And further yet, if you ever got into a situation where you got infections through your bloodstream, through old strep or staph in your throat when you were a kid, when you got chronically infected, or Epstein-Barr virus or Lyme disease, could those infections make their ways down into the kidneys and cause chronic infection as your body's trying to pee it out? Yes. Could that lead to weakening of the kidneys, to the adrenal issue, and then lead to a chronic fear state where you're always anxious? You better believe it. Because the infections, as they grow, can create more toxicities, and that gets into your bloodstream, and your kidneys are already weak, and it can't filter it out. And then you have all these toxins running around your blood, and this can eventually get into your brain through the blood-brain barrier, and your body can get anxiety. It happens in the intestines, it happens in the kidneys, it can happen in the bladder. This is not to be negative. I just want to show you the perpetual effect on the body. So you have kidney infections that could lead to emotions, and emotions could lead to kidneys. Why do the infections pick the kidneys in the first place? There could be a subtle emotional fatigue that was already in the kidneys or the bladder that could have came from a parent, a grandparent. Generational fatigue, generational emotions can pass. You can have generations of chronic kidney stones, chronic kidney fear, chronic fearful states, chronic bladder infections, bladder cancers, bladder issues that can be passed down from the genetic material information. I'm not saying that UTIs and all infections cause bladder cancers. I'm saying, can there be markers in the body where genetics or weakened genetics pass down from generation to generation? Yes. Could it make emotional changes in the body? I believe so. So Look into your genetic past, look into your history, see if there's any weaknesses in these areas. Look at emotional techniques that I just mentioned, but really find a good TCM practitioner, traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, a good herbalist that will help strengthen up the kidneys and the bladder and help with the adrenal glands. When you start to do this, plus start to look into doing grounding through the feet, putting grounding through the feet, through the balls of the feet, getting that chi up into the legs. And then as we get the chi up into the legs through the kidney meridian, restoring through grounding. And then also, we want to make sure we use certain herbals. Now, the herbals that I like to use have a lot to do with kidney cleansing, but one of my favorites is Uva Ursi Supreme. Uva Ursi Supreme, Uvaursi Supreme. We can put them in the show notes. Uva Ursi Supreme is a great berry and they use the leaves to help with cleaning out kidneys, kidney stones, even gallbladder stones, but it will clean out the bladder, the kidneys, and all the tubes therein. You want to start with slowness. Sometimes I tell a patient start with 1 a day in the evening, especially during the kidney bladder time in Chinese medicine, 3 to 7 p.m. Take that pill, that supplement, and see what it can help with is what I usually tell my patients. And then if that works really well, I usually would increase to 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening. When you start to see that your bladder infections, your kidney infections, the bladder pain, the kidney pain start to subside, go get that checked with urinalysis. I really love UroKey, UROKEY, by Microgen DX. Microgen DX, UroKey. It will extensively go through and test for over 50,000 different bacteria that's in the kidneys. Not just 10 or 7 or 10 bacteria, but 50,000. I usually say we'll do some Uva Ursi, throw in D-mannose, small glucose sugar type molecule that will attract and attach to bacteria. I often look into, if a patient doesn't use the Uva Ursi, look into cranberry. So D-mannose with Uva Ursi or D-mannose with cranberry. Plenty of hydration, half your body weight in water, a multi-mineral, multiple minerals. Also, methylated or B vitamins under advice. If you have problems with B vitamins and cannot process them, you may have a problem with methylating them or MTHFR, but a good B vitamin and good multi-minerals will help the kidneys. Cooling the kidney down with Uva Ursi or cranberry and a bit of the D-mannose with hip flexor stretching, hip flexor exercises, and also lymphatic drainage around the kidneys will help stimulate the kidney health. Then, never to neglect how much of the emotions of fear and the fear of not moving ahead or fear of being stuck has on your life. The emotions that I mentioned before, we want to keep those in play, and we want to say like we do NET or EFT or neurofeedback and get the emotions brought to the surface. I want you to research the neurolymphatics of the kidney and the bladder. On the Chinese medicine doll, I love kidney 27, which is where the sternum and the collarbones meet. Kidney 27. I also like the points behind the knee. They're behind the knee. They're on the inside of the knee right here on both sides, called kidney 10. So kidney 27, kidney 10. And I also like on the inside of the ankle, I like the kidney 6 and 7 right here on the inside of the ankle. Kidney 6 is down here by the little knobby bone on the inside, and kidney 7 is up here. Those will help stimulate the kidneys, and will get those areas starting to flush and help your kidneys and bladder start to heal. UroKey by Microgen DX. Then, as you get rid of the infections and you start to see the toxicities reduce, you should start seeing the toxic effect on your emotions reduce as well. You want to address it by looking at what's emotionally there and also what is chemically and physically there. Please take these words of advice. Chronic fear and that fear of not moving forward or staying stuck will cause chronic UTIs, bladder infections, or kidney problems, in my opinion. It shows that in Chinese medicine, but it's something for you to think about in the days to come. Clear up the kidneys. Let's work on the UTIs. Let's work on the blood flow to the kidneys and start to see how it can help the fear and vice versa. Guys, I hope this time with you was of good effect. I hope that you take this to heart. And if you guys have any more questions, please drop a comment in the comment section. Give us a note, like and subscribe if you like this channel. We're here to help, and we're so thankful that we can always bring you some good ideas in education and healthcare. Until next time, I'm Dr. Motley. Take it easy.